When you're planning a big road trip, right? You pull up the map app on your phone, you type in your destination, and you just stare at that crisp, glowing blue line.
Oh, yeah, you just blindly trust it.
Exactly. It tells you exactly where to turn, what the speed limit is, and it calculates a highly specific arrival time down to the literal minute.
It feels so incredibly certain.
It really does. You look at that screen and assume the path is completely set, like you are totally insulated from surprises. But then you actually start driving.
Right, and the app didn't account for, say, a sudden blizzard.
Or a washed out bridge,
Yeah.
or some massive detour that forces you off the interstate entirely and onto some winding, unpaved dirt road you never, ever intended to see.
Because the map is never the actual terrain.
The map is never the terrain. And that tension, that gap between the pristine maps we draw for our lives and the messy, chaotic terrain we actually end up navigating, that's what we are exploring today. So welcome to the Deep Dive. We are so thrilled you are here with us.
Yeah, glad to be doing this one.
Today, we are looking at a deeply personal, honestly incredibly raw piece of writing. It's essentially a mini-memoir shared by a mother who is reflecting on her unplanned, highly turbulent journey to parenthood.
It is a really profound text. I mean, it's concise, but it packs an immense amount of human drama into just a few paragraphs.
Oh, absolutely.
We're looking at shattered expectations, severe relational betrayal, and ultimately just a staggering story of survival and human resilience.
So our mission today is to unpack this narrative for you. The author's story completely dismantles a myth that I think so many of us carry around every single day.
The myth of the perfect timeline.
Yes. The myth that we must wait for the perfect time or the perfect person before we can step into major life milestones. We're going to explore how she navigated extreme vulnerability and how she found her footing when the floor literally fell out from under her.
It's a heavy one, but so important.
It is. So looking at the very beginning of her account, she outlines her initial mindset. She admits she honestly never thought she would become a mother. And the reason she gives is probably going to sound very familiar to a lot of people listening. She was basically paralyzed by the idea of perfection.
Yeah, she states explicitly that she thought she had to wait for the perfect time and the perfect person. And, to understand why we do this to ourselves, we really have to look at the psychology of perfectionism.
Especially regarding life-altering commitments like
Yeah.
parenthood, right?
Exactly.
Right.
We construct these idealized timelines because they offer an illusion of total control. I mean, the human brain is terrified of vulnerability.
Oh, for sure.
So we convince ourselves that if we just secure the right job, the right house, and the flawless partner, we're somehow insulated from risk or heartbreak.
We think we're building a fortress out of perfect conditions. But life is inherently risky.
Always.
Waiting for a risk-free moment just traps you in this state of permanent postponement.
Yeah.
And the author was living in that suspended animation until she met someone who appeared, at least on the surface, to be the missing piece of that perfect picture.
Right. She writes that she initially believed this man was sent by God,
Because he told her all the right things.
which makes total sense psychologically. We are heavily biased toward verbal communication, especially when someone articulates our deepest values back to us.
Like holding up a mirror.
Exactly. In the context of shared spiritual beliefs, which the author clearly holds very dear, hearing someone echo those exact values is intoxicating.
It bypasses our critical thinking mechanisms completely.
It really does. You just want to believe it.
It makes me think of, when you're scrolling through a real estate app and you find a house with these gorgeous sun-drenched photos.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
Right. It has the perfect mid-century furniture, pristine landscaping, flawless lighting. You just fall in love with it. But then you actually show up to view the property,
Yeah.
and you realize those photos were entirely AI generated.
It was digital staging.
Yes. Digital staging. The actual foundation is cracked, the roof is caving in, the plumbing is completely shot. You projected all your hopes onto an image that simply knew how to
To hear, but there is zero structural integrity behind the facade, and the author experiences a very harsh awakening here.
a really harsh awakening.
She writes that sooner rather than later she saw his actions, and they were the complete opposite of his words.
But, why does it take us so long to see the cracked foundation, though?
Yeah.
If his actions were the complete opposite of his words, shouldn't she have run immediately?
Well, this brings in the mechanics of cognitive dissonance. When you desperately want something to be true, like finding the perfect partner to complete your perfect timeline and reality contradicts that desire, your brain experiences actual acute psychological discomfort.
Like physical stress.
Yeah.
Or He didn't mean it that way.
Precisely. Tearing down the hope is simply too painful, so you ignore the structural damage until the roof literally collapses on you.
And the roof certainly collapses here. By the time the illusion shatters, the terrain has completely changed. She finds herself pregnant out of wedlock.
A massive detour.
Massive.
Yeah.
But instead of crumbling under the weight of it, she makes a very distinct pivot. She makes a conscious promise to God that she will accept the consequences of her actions.
Psychologically, we call this radical acceptance. And I want to be clear, this isn't about giving up or throwing your hands in the air.
Right, it's not resignation.
No, not at all. Radical acceptance is the active, on the very real, very frightening circumstances she is currently standing in.
But, radical acceptance doesn't pay the rent.
No, it does not.
She makes this internal spiritual pivot, but she still has to face a biological father who is completely checking out of the physical reality. The text here is staggering.
It really is hard to read.
He abandons her throughout the entire 9 months of her pregnancy. He doesn't show up to doctor's appointments. He doesn't help her prepare a nursery. He is an absolute ghost.
We are seeing the ultimate devastating manifestation of the opposite actions she spotted earlier.
Right.
The man who flawlessly recited the script of a perfect partner.
Parents. And he hands her a check for $200 and then vanishes forever.
Never steps in to help again.
$200.
It is a chillingly specific, finite number. By handing over that exact sum, he is attempting to purchase a clear conscience and sever the biological tie.
Like buying his way out of fatherhood.
Exactly. He treats the situation like a severance package.
Wait, hold on. I have to push back a little here.
Okay, go for it.
Are we sure this is some cold, calculated corporate buyout? Couldn't this just be sheer, unadulterated to have his checking account and just running away because he's a coward? Why are we assigning malicious, calculated intent to what might just be sheer panic?
That's a fair point. The internal panic might be very real, but the psychological function of the act remains the same.
Okay, how so?
Whether he sat down and did the math, or just panicked and grabbed his wallet, handing over a finite sum of money and walking away permanently serves a specific purpose. It absolves him in his own mind.
Ah, I see. He can tell himself, well, I gave her something.
Right. It highlights the profound asymmetry in their vulnerability. She is biologically, emotionally, and physically tethered to this child for the rest of her life.
Well, he just walks away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He approaches...
She is left holding a literal human being, and he is left holding his freedom.
It's incredibly stark.
And just when you think the abandonment couldn't get worse, the author reveals another detail about her support system. Or rather, the lack of it.
Yeah, this part is shocking.
She reaches out to an ex-boyfriend. And this is her longest relationship from when she was younger. Someone who presumably knew her deeply, someone with a long shared history.
You would naturally expect a degree of baseline empathy, right?
You marry her if she gets an abortion.
Which really shifts our focus to a broader, highly disturbing pattern of how the romantic figures in her life behave when she is in a state of extreme vulnerability.
But keep looking at the transactional nature of both of these men. It's wild. The biological father treats her crisis like a cheap buyout.
And the ex-boyfriend.
He treats her entire life was just a negotiation table for them.
That is spot on. When an individual is in a state of crisis, like an abandoned, pregnant woman facing societal and financial ruin, the power dynamics become starkly magnified.
Very magnified.
Both men, consciously or not, recognized her desperation. The ex-boyfriend capitalized on it to force a reality that suited him.
He weaponized her original desire for that perfect timeline.
Exactly. He essentially told her, I will give you the map.
Thankfully, I trusted God had me and my unborn baby in his loving arms.
She chooses her faith over the security.
Right. She chooses to trust her faith and her unborn child over the security this man was dangling right in front of her face.
Choosing the unknown over compromised security is a massive psychological leap. It represents the definitive end of her.
But refusing that ultimatum means stepping off a cliff without a parachute. So where does she actually land? We were talking about an impossible situation here.
Truly impossible.
She is a single mother, totally abandoned by the men who were supposed to be her partners, facing this monumental task alone. This is where the narrative shifts from the devastation of betrayal to the actual mechanics of survival.
And survival requires a safety net. For the author, that net was not found in a romantic partner, but in her community.
Yeah, she specifically points out, quote, "We never went hungry." They showed her the love she needed to just keep putting one foot in front of the other.
When the traditional family unit collapses, when the biological father bolts and the romantic prospects fail, human beings are incredibly resilient. We are wired to seek out surrogate structures.
We need a tribe to survive.
Well,
And the crucial psychological needs, providing a sense of belonging and love when she had been repeatedly discarded.
yes. But even with this amazing community support, the reality of her day-to-day life was unimaginably harsh.
Oh, it was. She shares a timeline in this text that genuinely, made me stop reading and just stare at the wall for a second.
It's hard to fathom.
She and her baby lived in a hotel shelter for 3 full years.
1,095 days.
Just think about where you were exactly 3 years ago. What city were you living in? What was your daily routine?
It feels like a lifetime ago.
Now imagine spending that entire block of time, every single holiday, every random Tuesday morning, every sick day, living out of a transient hotel shelter with a growing child. The sheer endurance required is staggering.
Let's break down what that actually looks like mechanically, because a hotel room is not designed for long-term habitation.
No, it's just meant for a few nights.
Exactly. It is fundamentally a space of transience. And you are trying to raise an infant who becomes a crawler, who then becomes a toddler, in perhaps 300 square feet of space.
With no real kitchen.
Right. You likely don't have a proper kitchen, meaning you are trying to provide nutritious meals using a microwave and a mini fridge. You are walking bottles in a tiny bathroom sink.
And the environment around you.
You are surrounded by other people in crisis, meaning the environment is likely loud and unstable. The sensory experience of that kind of confinement day in and day out takes an immense psychological toll.
The juxtaposition here is what really captures my attention. On one hand, she is experiencing this immense spiritual and communal abundance.
Right, her church family.
Yes, she feels loved by her church, her faith is strong, her soul is being fed, and they aren't starving. But simultaneously, she is enduring extreme physical scarcity and environmental instability.
A total paradox.
It is experiencing that deep abundance and that severe scarcity at the exact same time for 3 years. How does a human brain not just snap in half under that contradiction?
Well, it requires a specific kind of mental fortitude called delayed gratification, coupled with a deep-seated locus of meaning.
Okay, unpack that a little bit.
The human brain can endure horrific environmental conditions if it can separate immediate physical comfort from a larger overarching purpose. Her church family provided the emotional anchor, but they couldn't instantly fix the systemic issue of her housing insecurity.
She still had to wake up in that hotel room.
Exactly. She still had to wake up every single morning in that cramped room and do the grueling, unglamorous work of parenting. She survived by anchoring herself to her faith.
Allowing her to process the daily scarcity not as a permanent failure, but as a temporary wilderness she simply had to walk through.
A 3-year holding pattern in the wilderness.
Which brings us to the present day in her narrative, the resolution. After those 3 agonizing years in the hotel shelter, she shares that she and her son are finally living in their first earthly home.
They finally made it out to the other side.
They did, and she writes something deeply moving about the entire ordeal. She says, "I wouldn't change this for the world."
And that statement is the hallmark of post-traumatic growth. It's vital to distinguish this from simple resilience.
What's the difference there?
Resilience is like a rubber band. You stretch it through hardship and it snaps back to its original shape. Post-traumatic growth is different.
It's not snapping back.
Right. It's the rubber band melting down completely in the fire and being forged into a tire that can drive over broken glass. She isn't the same person who was desperately waiting for the perfect timeline.
The harrowing detour didn't just delay her life, it fundamentally transformed her.
Exactly. It forged a version of herself and a profound bond with her child that she now considers more valuable than the easy path she originally wanted.
So, what is the ultimate takeaway from this short but really heavy text? She summarizes her core message by stating that her absolute best decision was trusting God above any man.
Right.
She addresses whoever is reading her text, directly saying there's not going to be a perfect time or person, but if you serve a perfect loving God, you can get through it.
And, we are observing this entirely through the lens of her deeply held, lived experience.
Exactly, honoring her perspective here.
She navigated an ocean of betrayal, housing instability, and single motherhood, and she attributes her survival and ultimate triumph entirely to her faith. She anchors her entire story on the belief that things work out for the good for those who love him.
And regardless of whether you share her exact theological worldview, the mechanics of her survival are undeniably powerful. She stopped waiting for the perfect map.
She threw the map away.
She did. She accepted the messy, terrifying terrain she was actually standing on. She leaned heavily on her community, she clung to her convictions, and she walked through the wilderness, step by step, for 1,000 days until she found a home.
Because meaning and beauty are rarely found in the flawless execution of a carefully drawn plan. They are almost always forged in the fires of the unexpected detours we try so hard to avoid.
We spend so much time staring at that glowing blue line on the GPS, desperately wanting the perfect, predictable route. But if the author had stayed paralyzed, waiting for the perfect time and perfect person, she would have never experienced the profound strength, the community love, and the deep, unbreakable bond with her son that she cherishes so much today.
The detour didn't ruin her destination.
No, the detour became the destination.
The unexpected path provided the exact elements she needed to build a life of actual substance rather than just a digital staging of one.
Which leaves a lingering question for you to ponder as you go about the rest of your day. Think about the pristine maps you've drawn for your own life. How often do your rigid expectations of a perfect timeline prevent you from finding immense value, unexpected growth, and profound resilience in the messy, completely unplanned detours?
Sometimes the wrong road is the only way to find out who you actually are.
Thank you for taking this deep dive with us today. We'll catch you on the next one.